Welcome to the Resilient Woman Leadership Podcast, where professionally minded women explore the art of grounding into the powerful foundation that makes us resilient leaders in business and in life. I'm your host, Kathryn Regganie, and I believe that when we women connect deeply with our truest selves, we can collectively shift our leadership culture towards compassion, cohesion, and true creativity. Hello and welcome to this week's episode. I'm so excited to introduce to you Melissa Armstrong. Melissa has faced a lifetime of trauma and abuse, struggling with mental health issues from a young age. At 18, she experienced the devastating accident and subsequent death of her brother, adding to her existing struggles and anxiety, PTSD, and depression. Now, despite her hardships, Melissa has shown incredible resilience and strength in overcoming her challenges. And she now owns her own business as a trauma-informed functional health coach. She helps women to overcome trauma to heal their mind, body, and spirit. Welcome, Melissa.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here, Kathryn.
I'm so excited about our conversation today. What I really want to find out more or share with our listeners, because I've heard a little bit about it, tell me what brought you to this specialty.
Yeah, well, that's a big question. I mean, do you want me to explain my whole story, or should I just kind of like give you the Cliff Notes version?
I think you can just do a Cliff Note version of it.
Okay, so as my bio alludes to, there was a lot of trauma and abuse in my childhood. I grew up in a very chaotic, drug-addicted household. My parents were abusive. They eventually divorced, and I experienced lots of trauma even after that. My mom was very verbally abusive. There was a school shooting at my high school when I was 15, and then when I was 18, my brother was killed in a tragic accident right in front of me. And so I had a ton of like mental health issues, obviously, even before the shooting and his death and my brother's death, that were started to in my late teens and early 20s, started to manifest into a lot of physical symptoms. I started to have problems with my digestive system, and I started to have lots of like rashes and skin issues, and I was absolutely like riddled with emotional and mental health issues, with panic and depression and anxiety and suicidal ideations and all of those things. When my brother died, I decided I was going to be a nurse, like shortly after his death, when I was 18. So I started pursuing that and ultimately ended up getting through nursing school, like by the grace of God. I don't know how I got through all of that because I was so not well during that time. And so when I was licensed in my early 20s, I was still really struggling with my own physical and mental health, and repeatedly, would go to the doctor for various symptoms and looking for help and figuring out what was going on with me. And I was repeatedly met with, yeah, you're depressed, take this antidepressant. Yeah, you have a rash, here, take this steroid. Yeah, you're not sleeping, here's take some Benadryl, or here's some Ambien, or I was just given pills. I wasn't ever asked, about my trauma, about my history, about what I was eating, about how much I was drinking, about those things didn't ever come up. I was at one point in my 20s, I was on 7 different medications.
Wow.
I felt awful. I didn't sleep. I didn't eat well. I was on the verge of suicide and panic, like all the time. Yeah. And so I suddenly realized when I was 24, I was coming out of a panic attack one time, and my now husband, then boyfriend, suggested to me that I try meditation because he just reflected back to me what he was seeing, which was that I was stressed out about everything all the time. And
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know how to calm my nervous system down or calm my body down, calm my mind down. I was just always stressed and anxious. And that really controlled my life. Like that's how I existed 24/7. And so he suggested I try meditation. I did, and somehow it worked. I don't know how, because I don't recommend meditation as a first step for most of my clients now. And I realized pretty quickly that, wow, this actually works. And now I can actually feel a sense of calm in my mind and my body. And what is this? Why does it work? And why has the doctor never told me about this? And what are other types of meditation? And what is neuroplasticity and all of this? So I kind of dove like headfirst deep into like trying to understand what these alternative modalities and like this mind body connection and trauma and its role in what I was experiencing and all of that. And I realized that there was such a blaring like disconnect from what I was experiencing personally to what I was practicing professionally. And that separation got larger and larger as I moved through my career until about 5 years ago. I had been a nurse for almost 10 years, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. I can't work in this traditional model any longer. It doesn't align with my spirit, and it doesn't align with what I believe like actual health is. The pill for every ill, this chemical carousel that we are on, and not talking about the mind body connection and really like giving people the tools to like change their lifestyle that so impacts their health. That's what I wanted to do. And that's what I thought nursing was about. Like, that's really what I thought I was going to be doing. Yeah, that's about it. That's how I got into it.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really interesting perspective because I've talked to doctors, I've had doctors that have actually left the allopathic system. I hate to say traditional because that means it's been around for a long time and it really hasn't. So,
Yeah.
um,
Allopathic is a better way to say it. You're right.
yeah, the allopathic method, they've actually left because it doesn't work and it doesn't align with what they know to be true for themselves. So I really think that's an interesting point, and I encourage the listeners to really think about, their experience with, whatever medical attention that they get now, because, I came to this resilience um, uh, concept very much, Melissa, because of exactly what you're saying. I would see people in my practice with my hands-on practice, coming to me with the same things. I'm sick and nobody knows what's wrong. I hurt and nobody knows what's wrong. But when you can dig down deep into those mind, brain, um, stress, trauma connections to things that people just don't think about. Well, what do you mean? That happened to me 20 years ago. How can that be affecting me now? So I really, really love that perspective. So tell me a little bit more about sort of your practice when you see clients. How do you go about working with them?
Yeah, so I do like one-on-one and group coaching. I have lots of different offers and opportunities for people to work with me. But I really focus on I have developed what I call the MENDS framework, MENDS. So stands for mindset and spirituality, exercise, nutrition, detoxification, and somatic healing. And all of what I do falls into one of those 5 buckets. I do specialty functional medicine lab testing. I have some physician affiliates with some companies that I'm able to, get testing ordered for clients so we can really evaluate, dive deep into what's going on internally so we can really evaluate what is the root cause of these symptoms, where do we need to focus, and how can we optimize the processes inside of your body to optimize whatever it is that's imbalanced, and rebalance that part so you can eliminate the symptoms and not just put a band-aid on them, but actually get rid of them, and then learn the tools that you need to be able to sustain health going forward.
Yeah, I love that the concept that you're working with because, we're a society that's taught to not pay attention to ourselves. Oh yeah, I'm sick. Or I have mental health issues, and that's all true because we're so stressed out, but instead of taking a pill, wouldn't it be so much more beneficial and long lasting if you were to get some help at a deeper level? Like just like you said, the doctor kept just throwing pills at you.
Yeah.
And I'll use an example. My mom was not feeling well just before she passed away, and she went to the doctor and said, I'm just feeling depressed, because she didn't have any other words. So he said, oh, okay, here's some antidepressants. She was dead within 3 months, I think,
Mm,
because she had cancer.
that's so sad.
It is so sad. And it's like, well, when I talked to her after she got the medication, I'm like, so mom, do you realize depression can be a symptom of something? No. I said, did the doctor ask you any other questions about why he prescribed this? No. I said, well, I suggest you might want to consider having a conversation with the doctor to find out a little bit more. Do you really need this? And what else is really going on? And she didn't. So, it's a good idea to have those conversations with somebody who's willing to have those conversations, like you, Melissa, to really dig in there and find out, hey, what's going on?
Yeah. Yeah. And I love like that speaks to this point that depression can be a symptom just like anything else, right? Like joint pain can be a
Mm.
symptom, headaches can be a symptom. There's some sort of that's clues or information from your body that there's something going on. And if we restore that balance, I believe that we are inherently designed by God to heal.
Yes.
And our bodies are like, you think about like a cut on your hand. Never one time ever in your life have you ever thought about, oh, I gotta remember to spend time healing that cut today. Like, you don't have to do that. Your body just heals on its own. It's an intelligent, like by design being that is able to just heal. And if we sometimes just need to provide the right environment, we need to restore balance into some certain areas, and just giving a pill for a symptom to suppress that symptom when it's actually information, you're actually further exacerbating that imbalance, and likely most of the time, all of the time, in my opinion, creating more imbalances in other systems, which actually just worsens the problem and doesn't actually get you better. It just makes things a whole lot worse.
Yeah, and it's really interesting. You were talking about the symptom, what do they call it? The system domino effect. Here's a pill for this. Okay, now you have this symptom. And well, here's a pill to deal with this symptom. And here's another one. How many pills were you on at
7.
27? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that just blows
Yeah.
my mind. And then you watch the TV commercials that we here in the United States get to listen to about all of the
Yeah. It's like the side effect of many of them was like suicidal ideations and death,
death.
like
Here,
traumatic,
take this
like,
pill and you might die.
yeah.
Okay. Okay, is that really worse than this? What's going on? Maybe not so much.
Yeah.
See somebody like Melissa really dive down into, what's really, really going on. And
Yeah.
I love your perspective on really digging deep into what's going on because, joint pain could be, lots of inflammation. It could be the diet you're eating. You might be allergic to something you don't even know you're allergic to.
Hmm.
Not drinking enough water. I mean, some of it can be so simple, simple fixes. Some
Yeah,
of it, not so much.
a lot of it, in my experience, a lot of my clients are just like, I'm educating them about some of the things I know because I'm a nurse and I've known for so long, but like some people don't know. I have a client, she just completed or just finished my working with me for 6 months. I think we worked together, but she in her intake paperwork it said, I asked how many ounces of water do you drink a day, and it said 0. And in my head I thought, this is obviously a typo. And so when I had my first call with her, I said to her, oh, it says 0 on your paperwork and I have a pen. I'm ready. I'm like, how much water do you actually drink? And she's like, oh, no, that's not a typo. I don't drink water. And I was like, oh, really? And she's like, yeah, I don't like it. Should I be drinking water? And I was like, yes, you should be drinking water. Yes. And then we had this conversation about like, how much water should she be drinking? And she had no idea. And no, it had never come up in any appointment or with any person. And like, I mean, she wasn't, she wasn't going to doctors all the times, but she had no idea. She's like, oh, I just don't really like water. It doesn't really taste good. So I just mostly drink iced tea. And I thought that like, as long as I was just getting enough hydration, like fluid, that it was fine. And I was like, oh, sweet girl. Like, let's talk about that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really, really interesting. I mean, I know I need to drink water. I think maybe that's because of the industry that we're in, but I know I don't drink
No idea.
enough water most of the time, but I have it right next to me all the time. And, when I'm at my desk, it's better because it's right there. But when I'm outside or whatever, it's not always there. So I don't drink as much. However, I'm aware I need to drink water. So it's something that I focus on. And it's really interesting to know that some people don't know that, or they don't like it. Or I drink Coke. I
Yeah.
drink Diet Coke. Oh no.
She genuinely thought that because she drank iced tea, that she's like, oh, I just have enough, like, as long as I'm drinking enough fluid per day, like, I didn't realize I need to drink water. And
So
nobody had ever told her. So, like, how would she know,
yeah, that's just really, really interesting. Yeah. And then, I've always heard, like with nutrition and things like that. Well, if the government says it's okay for me to eat, then what's the big deal? Oh, okay.
I don't recommend taking advice from the government about nutrition.
Yeah. No, I don't either. But it's a whole nother
Yeah,
topic.
I'll have to come back on to talk about that one.
Exactly, exactly. Well, we have just a couple of minutes left, Melissa. If people want to reach out and talk to you a little bit more about what you're up to and what you've got going on, how can they get a hold of you? How can they get in touch?
So social media, I'm at Holistic Health by Melissa, and I'm mostly on Instagram and Facebook, or you can find me on my website, holistichealthbymelissa.com.
Excellent. And all of this will be in the show notes. So if you're in the car and you didn't get a chance to write it down, it'll be in the show notes. I appreciate you so much being here today, Melissa, and I look forward to talking again.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was great.
Thanks. Thanks for listening to the Resilient Woman Leadership Podcast. Remember to take my Dragon Woman quiz at dragonwomanquiz.com. In just 2 minutes, this fun quiz will reveal your Dragon Woman and connect you to the resources so that you can leverage her power for good. And if you've enjoyed this episode, subscribe now so you can hear more inspiring stories from other resilient, wise women who will uplift and inspire you. Your review really matters to me, so please gift me back by reviewing this episode. Want more Kathryn? You can find me at energy-pathways.com.